Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 19 of Reading Layamon Brut. We pick up today at line 1201. Last time, when we left off, Locrin had built a secret hiding place for his mistress, Astrild, and she had become pregnant while living there. And his wife, Gwendolen, had also become pregnant. And as we might expect, things are about to get awkward. So, let's begin. Anna dochter hefde Astrild, inne van Earthhuse, the king her lette fulwen after van lauen the stoden van Ilkedauen. Here was he haten Abren, nes feirer childe nan. And Gwendoline hefde ene sunne, an herte here was the bet. Madden he was he haten, hech sunne des kinges. This child works and well I thigh, and all folk hit was lev. Daar he kuthe gan, and speken with Fulke, the king Locrin hine nom, his fire son Madan, and Tokorinee hine sende, into his londe, that he hine schulde well itern, and tuchlen him techen, and swahe dude mit meine, the huile the he michte. Astrild had a daughter in the earth house, the hiding place. The king caused her, the daughter, to be baptized according to the laws or the customs which stood in the same days, in those days. So, because of course the Trojan Britons are not Christians, so the child can't be baptized in the Christian sense. She was called Abren. There was not any fairer child. And Gwendolen had a son. It was the better to her in her heart, so she was glad because of it. He was called Madden, the high or the great or noble son of the king. And this one might be a little bit of a trick, because Hech might seem as though it should go with des kinges, so the high king, but it doesn't. And we can say that because this kinges has the es genitive ending, whereas Hech does not. And adjectives typically agree in case with their nouns. This child grew and flourished well, and it, which is probably referring to the child, which is being treated as grammatically neuter, so it, the child, so we'd say he, was dear to all the people. When he was able to walk and to speak with people, the king Locrin took him, his fair son Madden, and sent him to Corineus, into his land, so into Cornwall, so that he, Corineus, should well bring up or educate him, Madden, and teach him customs or manners. And so he did. So Corineus did that with dedication, or he did it assiduously. This is the word main that we still have in the expression might and main, but here it refers to vigorous intent or strength of mind rather than physical strength. So he did it with dedication, I think we'll go with. The while that he could, so as long as he could. Daar komt the team gliden, the elch monne abideth, that Corineus the stronger maakte his liefes ende. That he heerde the king, it was him swithe kwame. Daar he wuste to sothe, that Corineus was dead, he nom of his heerte 12 hende men, and Gwendoline he sende into hier vader londe, into Cornwall, into hier kuthe. There was Gwendoline at hame, and hier son Madan, and swithe hier hit mande, to all monnen. The here father wulde, the huile he was on lieve. When the time came, gliding or flying, that awaits each man that Corineus the Strong made his life's end, so he died. The king heard that. It was very pleasing to him. When he knew as the truth, or for the truth, he knew that it was true, that Corineus was dead, he took from his household, or his court, 12 good men, and he sent Gwendolen into her father's land. So he also sent her to Cornwall, into her homeland. Then was Gwendolen at home, and her son Madden, and she complained or lamented about it very much. This word manen, it may be related to the word moan, but its etymology isn't entirely clear. So she moaned it to all men, she lamented it to all men, who her father ruled. This is possibly a false friend, because it may look like wulda, which becomes our word would, the past tense of willan. It's not. It's actually the past tense of welden, which means to rule, and we see quite frequently throughout the Brut. So she lamented it to all the men whom her father ruled, the while that he was alive. Her gederede to sumne, alle hier sibe friend, and alle the knites, the hier begeten michte, and alle that kuthefolk, that hier a friend wiren, and alle the unkuthe to hier komen, of wel fele londe, for silver and for golde, and hier roemlietje hit jef, god dan kempen, and bad hem for here worshippe, reken here ternen, have de Locrin the king inomen to him Astrild. Here was him quem, and he here havde to quene. Under thisser plisse there komen muchele burstes. She gathered together all her relatives and friends, and all the knights who she could get hold of, and all the familiar people, all the people she knew that were her friends, and all the unknown people came to her from, well, many lands, a good number of different places. They came because of the silver and the gold, and she gave it, the silver and the gold, abundantly to the good warriors, and bade them, for their honour, to avenge her pains or her troubles. Locrin, the king, had taken to him Astrild. She was pleasing to him, and he had her as his queen. Under or within all this bliss, all this joy for Locrin, there came great destructions, great harms and injuries. Mer kudde Locrine, there was this lerdene king, that Gwendoline mit ferde fusde to this londe, to reken hier eterne, of thon king and of their quene. The king mit his folke fusde here to Reines, and here to gather cumen, upon anne watere, that water had a store, that feicht was sweete storne, in a dersette Locrin death thulede. An arwe him kom to hirte, that he adoon halde, there he was fai, and muchel of his ferde, and the quick men at fluen, and muchel flaem markeden. People made it known to Locrin, who was king of this people, that Gwendolen hastened to this land with an army to avenge her troubles or her sorrows on the king and on the queen. The king, with his people, hastened against her, and they came together upon a water, or upon a river. That river is called the Stour. That fight was very strong, very vigorous. In Dorset, Locrin suffered death. An arrow came to him to the heart, so that he fell down. Tumbled down, really. Something to that effect. There he was doomed. And great part of his army. And the living men flew away, they fled, and made great flight. Gwendoline hafde the overe hand, and jagnede here al this land, and here fjerde to dan kastle, der Astrild was inne. Here nome Astrild and Abren, and lette hem binden, and lette hem worpen in anne der på watere, there here dronken, and there here der soliden. Daar was Gwendoline leerdene leefdi. Daar hechte her anne heste, mit heichere wiete, dat meer schulde dat ilke water, der Abren was dronken, klepjen hit Avren, for den meidene Abren. And for Locrines love, there was here a kine lovert, de strene de Abren, upon Astrild. Gwendolen had the upper hand, and brought into her own possession, brought to herself all this land. And she went to the castle where Astrild was in. She took Astrild and Abren, and caused them to be bound, and caused them to be thrown into a deep water. There they drowned, and there they suffered death. Then was Gwendolen the lady of the people. Then she commanded a command with higher intelligence, with great intelligence, great understanding, that people should call that same water where Abren was drowned, that they should call it Avron. Now, this is actually in Geoffrey of Monmouth, the River Severn, but Wasa doesn't seem to know that, and Layamon follows Wasa. So somewhere along the chain, the meaning of this has become lost. So to call it the Avron because of the maiden Abren, and she did this for the love of Locrin, who was her king and her lord. So, she may have to kill Locrin and Astrild and Abren, but she doesn't really necessarily like having to do that. And I suppose that's to secure her claim to the throne and to protect the inheritance of her son, Madden. So she's not necessarily wanting to kill all these people, but she doesn't have any choice, otherwise her grip on the kingdom is going to not be as secure as it could be. She did this for the love of Locrin, who was her lord and her king, who begot Abren upon Astrild. Daar hefde her islauen denne kinge, and the nieuwe quene, and here a child, and Avren hatte jet das at Christus Kirche her falleth I there se. Gwendoline was sweete stronge, for all Brutene was on here hand, and her was swa sweete well bethocht, that elche monne her doet riecht. Then she had slain the king and the new queen and their child, and still this river is called the Avron. At Christchurch, she, referring to the river, so it, falls or flows into the sea. Gwendolen was very strong, because all Britain was in her hand, and she was so very well thought, so she's so intelligent and so understanding and wise and prudent, that she did right, or justly did justice to each man. So she is probably the best ruler that Britain has had and is going to have for quite a long time in this text. Als man nicht fahren jend hier land, thy hebere red gold. 10 year her was mid Locrin, often her havde serwen pine. 15 year and nichen daus, sethen Locrin was dead, al Brutine her wuste, wel mid thon beste. In a griethe and in a friethe, wun was on fulke. Each man could go throughout her land, even though he carried red gold. So that's how well Gwendolen kept the peace and maintained law and order. So you didn't have to be afraid of bandits and muggers who would come and steal your gold. 10 years she was with Locrin. Often she had sorrow and pain, so during that time. But after Locrin was dead, for 15 years and 9 days, she kept or protected all Britain. This is the word Wheaton that we've seen before with reference to guarding prisoners and keeping or guarding, not just prisoners, but anything. And this is its past tense form. So she kept or protected Britain well with the best. In peace and in truce, there was joy among the people. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. So if you have any questions, comments, or corrections, please don't hesitate to get in touch. You can do that either in the comment section below or on the Facebook page for the video series, which you'll find linked in the video description. Thank you very much for listening. All the best, and I'll see you next time.